And we're there. All right, folks, welcome back to another year. Year 6, boys? As of this summer, I guess it'll be 6 years. Anyways, year 6 of 2015. We're back. We're here. It's the Regulators. Welcome to the show. Steve Guerin, sir. Steve, Steam-driven media, and in his new fancy-looking office.
Hello.
Let me highlight that for the people. There we go. That's a good-looking office. That's good.
This is
By the way,
like.
Our sponsor, Telsec, has some great offices available. Anyways, and of course, Terry Van Horn is your promo session Dojo and man of mystery. How's it going, brother?
Going good, Dave. Let's call where Steve is the Steve Cave. You know,
yeah,
there's
the man cave,
and then there's Steve's Cave.
Anyways, folks, yeah, Steve has relocated. Fully into the new house now, I guess. He'll be doing the show from there. We still miss our penguins and pandas on the back wall, but I'm sure once the office is together, we'll get there. Yeah.
There we go.
Like we were saying before the show, best to think it out than to rush into it. All right, so yeah, we made a bit of a commitment this year, folks, to I guess please both our audiences. As far as, you know, once upon a time we used to get people that complained we didn't do anything educational. Then when we talked about doing something educational, we'd have people complaining that they just want to hear us swear fucking rant and Terry go off. So I guess we're this year we're trying a bit of a format change in the sense that we're going to try, like the first half of the show, we're going to try and be educational and give people something useful, something helpful. And the second half, we'll just go off and be ourselves, as usual. Okay, so to start off, I guess we wanted to get into the old disavow tool since it's been getting some notoriety and some people have. And Terry, Steve, and I were saying before you showed up, we're not going to get into the names and anything because that would just drag us down the wrong direction. So, but at least let's go ahead and at least put our own thoughts out there on the disavows. So, I don't know, Terry, we'll start with you, man. You go. What are your personal thoughts on disavow? Its efficacy, should you do it, and shit like that?
Yeah, sure you should do it. Whether it works or not, I don't know. Like works as in what? I've not seen someone that, has proven either way. There's, as John Mueller said, maybe what what the guy said in his presentation is true for him. That's the problem when you start cookie cutting SEO and trying to assign it to everything.
Right, and making definitive statements as opposed to hypothetical theories.
There's always 2 or 3 different ways you can do things. Some are better than others. That's all. That's all you can really say. But to say one guy or one person is wrong or this is right or this doesn't work, maybe it didn't work in that instance.
Yeah, and who's to say what works is, I guess, you know what I mean? Because it's a disavow, it's not a manual reconsideration request. Reconsideration request, you get a reply that tells you clean up more, do this and that. The disavow, there's no, how do you know, did it not work because you didn't disavow enough of them, or, there's no real line of communication for you to be able to establish why it worked or didn't work or what happened,
Or who's to even say, going another route, who's to say that it was even Penguin that the person was cleaning up to begin with? Because you don't know, you don't get a message.
Right. If you've got a bad initial analysis, right. So if the initial analysis on the problem was wrong, then the disavow is not your answer anyway.
And that would make it seem like you don't need, like the disavow didn't work. That's the problem when you start, as you've said so many times, David, that you start making everything this cook, if it's doing this, it's this. Just like another similar thing, okay, is I see this person talking about a knowledge graph result, right? Where they've given an answer, and he says, well, they weren't using schema, they weren't doing this, they weren't doing that, and everything that person said was not really needed. It's what the consensus is, but in my opinion, the consensus hasn't taken into consideration that Google does natural language and also looks at structure of documents and learns them. As you know, we're going to talk about Bill Slosky recently wrote that piece on that, Dave, and you've been telling me for a long time, and I, listened and kind of believed, but now after I read the patent, and I see now where they're not counting on schema or anything to do.
They can't because the adoption levels, among other problems, you know what I mean? But among other things, the adoption levels were always so low. But let's not get off on that. Steve, all right, so your current thinking on the old disavow, sir? Efficacy.
My opinion on this and just about everything that has to do with Google is it's all about thresholds. How much good versus how much bad versus how much your other people in your niche in that keyword bucket, they're good versus bad. So what works in one industry may be completely out of whack for another industry based on a trend pattern that they've seen.
Right, and by thresholds for the non-IR geeky types, Google's tolerance for something in a given query space, where the tolerance might be a little bit higher or lower in the payday loan space compared to the knitting or something.
Right, and then you wind up with, okay, well, if the threshold for Penguin is the number of good links versus the number of bad links, there are multiple ways to deal with that problem. Number one is do a different disavow and wait for Google to recrawl all those links. The other option is to ask people to take links down, and we all know how painful that is. Another option is to go ahead and just build good links. So, relying on any one of those three exclusively is kind of pointless. Why would you? Yeah, I suppose it would be an interesting game to play to just see if you could. But it comes back to, when you're doing your disavow list, how automated are you going to make the process? Are you going to let good links get flagged as bad links in your disavow list? So you wind up chasing this giant circle where it's probably always easier just to continue to push good content and good links.
And I agree with that. I've often, so many times when I'm doing like forensic work with a client, on one hand I'm talking about, okay, here's what we got to do to try and clean things and fix things up. But I'm always talking about, but that's not your whole problem. The problem is you're not getting natural, organic, quality links through other promotion and other activities. What are we doing there? Because recovery, Terry, right? What's recovery? If you lose, you've already lost the equity to these shitty links. Right. You're not getting it back ever. So if you're not moving in a positive direction with new marketing initiatives, you're not gaining new links, so you're still in that same problem. You're not going to see growth because you're still in that same fucking hole.
Well, also, Dave, to me it doesn't make a lot of sense. You've removed and disavowed links. Does Google suddenly give you a cookie for doing what you shouldn't have done in the first time? No, you got to replace those links. It's that simple.
Unless you're holding interesting stuff.
And Steve, you forgot one other option. I also look at the content that the bad links are pointing to, and if that content is not really that good, I pull the content down. Sure. And that breaks everything, and I found it to be one of the quicker ways to fix things.
Well, and that's something.
But then you go on your HT Access and forward that page to steamdrivenmedia.com.
Yeah. Forward it to Steve.
Forward them all. Give them all to me. Now we're getting ready to go through a similar issue with a new client where we've got they're doing a site migration, and we've got something like 1,500 blog posts to move. And the question is, how many of those do we actually need?
Or
I think even if you don't move sites, Steve, that's something you should almost do annually. You know what I mean? Go through your content and axe the stuff that doesn't perform or doesn't serve a purpose, that isn't getting any searches, it doesn't serve a purpose to your end user for navigating the site. Call that stuff, because from everything from crawl rates to internal links and things of that nature, it's using up Google resources, and if it's a page of no value, I don't know if I'd keep it anyway.
Also, too, Dave, remember they've changed the PageRank algorithm so that now pages on your site don't necessarily send PageRank to other pages. It doesn't happen automatically anymore. So in some cases, you may be actually hurting yourself if it's off topic or whatnot. Thinking back to our friend, remember where they had some maybe irrelevant content on a page? We removed that and seemed to help with the Panda. I think all these things, they're looking at that now. People are not considering that Google has a lot more processing power than they had 2 years ago. I don't think we've really come to grips with that yet.
Well, one of the other things we look at is similar content on multiple pages. That's a great opportunity to combine all those pages into one really kick-ass page.
Yep.
Definitely want to redirect those dead pages to the new page. Those types of things come in and become really valuable. It's just that it, like everything else, it takes time and effort, and not everybody's willing to commit to that level of time and effort, even though
which is usually the stumbling block I find with most clients. You know what I mean? That they don't. I don't know how best to explain it to them, but there is a payoff at the end, like on the usability side as well as Google or whatever.
Well, like I've said, I've seen every instance where we have taken off-topic Panda candidate pages, all of that stuff where we've removed it from a website, the website visibility improved. And by visibility, I mean rankings, etc., in a lot of ways. So I think it's time that we kind of get off the let's produce a whole bunch of content train and get on the let's make sure that this content is really needed. In other words, your content strategy should not be about ranking. It should be about what does the site need, what does the user need, and those are going to fit your needs better than trying to make a whole bunch of content to raise your rankings.
All right, so let's not get too lost on our poor old disavow tool. So we were saying before the show, I guess.
Sorry.
No, no worries. Who cares? As long as it's educational, right, Steve?
That's what I mean. I'm just trying to help.
Doesn't matter, man.
Not that I know everything, and just giving my thoughts, something else for you to throw in there. And
we were saying before the show, it probably doesn't hurt to take every avenue possible when you're trying to recover. To take some sort of advice that the disavow is useless. It's kind of funny, guys, because I was thinking during this whole little blowout everyone's been having about this particular person, that when there was guys running around saying that Google, Barry Adams would be a good one of our Google tinfoil hatters. When people were running around saying that Google's just using this to collect information on you and this and that, nobody complained about those people. But poor old this guy who's getting it right now, he's, it's just a fucking disavow theory. It's, maybe it's where it was posted. I don't know. Don't know. But again, we were saying before the show that it doesn't hurt to, go through the process and do it anyways, especially in a manual situation. Penguin, I don't know. And again, I was saying in the chat room before this, that there's a huge difference between someone with 1,000 links that has 200 shitty ones compared to someone who has 1 million links and 30, 40,000 shitty ones.
Right.
I think there's still a degree you got to consider as far as thresholds, back to what Steve's saying, as far as the thresholds go, there's got to be, a consideration as far as that goes. Like this person that had his definitive study of 12 sites that says the disavow doesn't work.
Yeah, that was.
What are these sites? Again, where are these sites? How big are their link profiles? What are we talking about here? What was the penalty? How did you establish what the penalty was? We don't know anything. It's like the usual studies we used to make fun of here on this show, that we'd look at the study and how many people were involved. So I still don't think personally I would advise anybody to ignore the disavow tool. Plain and simple. Hell, I'm even proactive with it. I think, Steve, I don't know if it was on the air or off the air. I think it was off the air that you were saying too about, a percentage, how Google might use this kind of data as far as more trying to retrain people in how much of your crap do you know about or aware about or willing to tell us about, compared to what we already know. You know what I mean?
I try to view a lot of stuff that I do with Google of, if I was trying to catch me, what would I be looking for? And work from that presumption that they're at least as smart as I am and probably smarter. And one of the things that always struck me as interesting is these bulk disavow tools. They get so much wrong.
Yeah.
You know, usually if you're going through them by hand or reasonably by hand, you're going to go ahead and find the good and the bad and get some separation going there. But if your disavow list, 20% of the links you disavow are actually good quality links that Google likes, they may possibly take your entire disavow list into question and say, well, you used an automation tool to build those links. Now you're using an automation tool to remove those links. Okay, we don't trust you at all, and move forward from there. If I were looking at these disavow lists,
well, you remember that company again? Since we're not dropping names anymore today, at this first half of the show at least. Remember that company that was selling pre-made disavow lists? What happens if they get one that has shit in it that doesn't even link to you? It's like, okay, I don't trust this person. Anything they give me from now on, I don't trust.
Yeah, you're back to the data problem: garbage in, garbage out. And what may be a bad, let's say you're selling guitars and somebody splashed your link all over a jewelry website. Well, that link doesn't do you any good. But if you sell jewelry and your link is all over a jewelry website,
or even a guitar website, because you could have pendants with guitars on it. It works the other way around.
Right. So, a generic pre-made list and making certain assumptions about certain types of links can get you in trouble. Because, best case scenario, you disavow good links and Google says, you don't really know what you're doing, we still are going to count that link. But they've already shown that they have a real hard time telling what's good and what's bad anyway, because they want us to disavow links. So why take the risk of wiping out really good links by just automating the process and hitting the big go button and hoping it works? That's what got you in trouble to begin with building your links.
Yeah, personally, I don't think there's a penalty. I just think they don't allow you to rank if you're penguinized. I don't think there's like a penalty type thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think you're just your page is on it when things fly.
I don't think there would be a penalty, but I think it would call into question your judgment and your ability to send good signals to them. And if you're sending bad signals to Google now, why assume that anything that you've done is good?
Yeah, and see, I've always had a very similar theory as far as it being about trust, in the sense that, again, if you've got, let's say Google thinks you have 100 shitty links, and they've determined this algorithmically, your disavow contains 20, then they only have a 26% trust in you. You know what I mean? If you put 80% of those in, then it goes up, et cetera, et cetera. I've always had very much the same view of how they might use the disavow, and I do think it's probably more about trust. Especially even in unnatural links thresholds.
I think the easiest way to dampen, which is what Penguin does, is dampen pages or remove pages from the index. The easiest way to do that, PR, right? Page rank.
Yeah, I don't know. I think probably the easiest way to do that is to apply the dampener at the end of the scoring, meaning let the trust signals and the page rank and all those other things do their job, come up with your final quality scoring, and then dampen that by a percentage. You know what I mean? I don't think to try and just stick that dampener or penguin onto the page rank section of all the different algos doesn't make as much sense, because now you have your quality control when you're trying to fix it and tweak it and see if it works right. It's buried really deep, whereas opposed to if you just finish the scoring as it naturally would run in Google and then apply a negative percentage dampener to that final scoring, is probably easier to tweak at the end of the day. Just a theory.
Here's the other thing too, Dave, is that Google has even said that as far as the disavow tool goes, right, when you get removed from, when you get the letter from them, right, or the email that says they've removed the penalty, chances are that they haven't even looked at the disavow list.
Right, because again, it'd be a lot easier. It'd be a lot easier in that reviewer's interface if it just gave them a score, right? Meaning, again, percentage disavow score 82%, disavow score 32%, disavow score 3 or 4, whatever.
Or
based on like, same theory as Steve's talking about. If you have a percentage, if this is a trust calculation, if you have 1,000 bad links and you've disavowed 500, you get a 0.5, you know, disavow score or whatever. And so the reviewer, when they're doing a manual, just looks at that and says, "No, sir, you've got more work to do," until that, you know, gets up there, combined with links removed. You know, because even think about the article that was talking with John Mueller, and he said, well, it's about thresholds and this and that, because he was talking about adding good links. Again, same concept makes sense, because if you've got shit links, again, if you've removed a bunch and they've recrawled, and now, you know, from 1,000 you're down to 800 shitty links, and you've disavowed 5, that means 2/3 of the 800 plus the what you removed, again, spits back that reviewer a score. Because the reviewer's not going to know how to look, you know, dig in all that fucking data. They just want to push buttons. You know, they got 1,000 disavows to do a day or whatever.
And that part's really obvious when you get their sample links back, and several of those sample links don't even exist.
Yes, because they haven't been recrawled recently, so yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the funny part. I would assume, Steve, somewhere in all these algorithms, it finds a page it doesn't like, it doesn't crawl it so often, does it? You know, so you try to do this manual or this other recovery stuff, just like you're saying, it's still showing that link, because why? Because they don't trust the page and haven't been back.
Well, there's some things about Penguin that kind of started to click with me. One was that Google said that the only way you get removed is when they run their algorithm, right? That's when you can recover. Well, that implies that there's some kind of sandboxing of URLs that they believe are Penguin. And those only, but I think you can trip it with indexing, because you can't, they wouldn't really quarantine like something like that. They just wouldn't bother to index it, so it wouldn't get updated and get removed.
Yeah, the old blast, force a crawl kind of idea.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They aren't crawling it, they aren't going to rank it, right? They're going to put that fresher data before the older stuff. Stuff like that hasn't really been thought through on this. That's my point.
Right.
And then, of course, there's this, which you had mentioned, I think, Terry, this morning.
Yeah, that's John Mueller was
right.
So, about this.
And essentially, the way this goes, folks, is that, you know, yeah, sure, you don't potentially have to remove links. You don't potentially have to use the disavow if you're getting all kinds of crazy new good links, which again goes back to thresholds and scale, as far as I'm concerned, you know, because people this morning were like, well, see, you don't have to do it. It's like, well, no. If I've got 20,000 shitty links, you still got work to do, man. You know, because unless you're going to find...
When I saw it, Dave, I just thought to myself, okay, that's like building thousands of links to a website that is pure shite for SEO. You know, you could do more by fixing the website, right? As we said, you know, you're just pissing the equity away. Remember? So we start by fixing the site.
We just, I know it's shocking to you guys, but I think everyone in the industry has a real hard time using their brains, because everyone jumps, like someone like Mueller or Matt Cutts used to, or somebody makes a statement, everyone just fucking goes flying off the edge of the ship, you know? And again, if you've got 1,000 bad links and you've got 50 crappy ones, sure, building 100 new good ones is going to help that threshold and fix it. But if you've got 50,000 and 20,000 are bad, you might have a bit more of a problem diluting that threshold. You know, again, it's got to be situational. You can't just barefaced take a statement like that and run with it and go, well, there you go, we don't need the user anymore. You know.
Yeah, which basically says, look at each situation and make an assessment of what is best for the client, right? Like, do we need to disavow? Should we maybe even consider deleting content? That kind of thing is a real way to do it. But, you know, pull out the old cookie cutter and do your SEO, that's fucking, I wish we could get beyond that shit. It's nonsense.
We're not going to.
Does not seem likely, sir.
The problem is we're not going to, because there's an awful lot of people out there who only can, whose only skill comes from following what other people write about, and that's how you develop these processes that everybody does the exact same thing to every single website, thinking it's a website, therefore this works, when they should be thinking this is a website about puppies, and this is a website about glassware, and this is a website about the porn industry, where each one of those, you can't do the same thing for a puppy website as you can for a porn website. It simply won't work. So you can't, you know, people have to start thinking back like the old, going back to real marketing. You have to, plan for your audience, plan for, your content, and move forward. But that's not what we see most of the time.
But Steve, wouldn't you say that one of the differences between guys like me, you, and Dave, and the people coming into the industry now, we never had tools when we got here. We had to use our heads. So we developed ways of doing things that don't require tools. So we can actually think outside of the box and do something that is not just like what everyone else is doing.
I run into that a lot with clients when they send me a list of tools and they go, okay, which of these tools should we sign up for? None of them. First of all, you aren't going to know how to use it. Second of all, you don't need it. You hired me.
I'll get any tools we need.
But that's the same. It's like you said, you give somebody a hammer and everything looks like a nail.
Yep.
And you get people who don't understand the process signing up for link detox or whatever. Everything looks like a bad link. Click. So it's a different animal for sure.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of that, don't you think, Dave and I, as far as the dojo? We tried to teach people that,
optional word being tried.
Tools are for, giving you a case for what your theory is. It allows you to collect data to back up a hypothesis. But looking for the answers in tools is usually not a good thing.
I mean, they can certainly help. But
all right, Terry, you want to go this direction?
Yeah, I really like this post, actually.
It's from our buddy Bill Slosky, for those not familiar. So. All right, well, I'll let you go with it. I'll jump in.
Yeah, Bill's just making the point that, what a lot of people are not really getting as far as the knowledge graph, and that it's all about natural language, and not natural language isn't just the words on the page. Google has always, as far as I'm concerned, not just since the knowledge graph, but they've always taken stuff like when people write a definition, it's usually a word or something followed by a colon and a value. So it's not like you have to be a IR genius to figure out that that's inferring a value to a word. And these are not, these are things that you have to consider when you're going to say, for instance, use schema. Do I really need to do it and add that complexity to the website? It's one thing for me to add schema to a website that I'm managing. It's another thing for me to write by hand schema and expect Joe Blow to manage it. He's not going to get it's not going to work the same. He's not going to have the training, or they aren't. So, it's all about looking at situations and knowing what your options are. Is it a stronger signal? I would assume so. I can't say so for sure, using the schema, but in my experience, it would seem that that would be a stronger signal. Even more so if it comes off an authority site. So,
Yeah, I remember over the last 6 years doing this together. Steve and I, Steve, we've discussed many a times with the schema deal that the implementation, the adoption was low, and I think they had to find a way around it. You know what I mean? They would have loved it if the world had followed their lead and done their thing, but at the end of the day, if it's not working, find a way around it. So I think that's definitely what they're going to end up doing.
Well, I think I actually believe that the people at Google think that when they say jump, we all fucking fall over ourselves to jump through hoops to give them whatever they want.
For the most
I
part,
seriously believe that.
for the most part, the people in the industry do.
A lot of them do, sadly.
I mean, how many years did some people put into developing schema and micro formats before it was even a thing because they thought it was going to be a thing. Then when it became a thing, they were like, see, look, I told you. And then 2 years later, it was not a thing anymore. And it's like, you just wasted 8 freaking years of your life on something that
let's say I wouldn't, I do it when I'm developing a website, but I'd never suggest to a site owner, hey, you should add schema to your whole website because.
And I think we've always been quite consistent in that advice. If you're redoing the website or building a website from scratch, damn fine, go right ahead because there'll still be ways and places that markup will be handy. But if you're looking for a major benefit long term and you're going to expend all that time and money just for that, I've never been a fan.
No, I wouldn't.
Like all things, there's a lot of times as SEOs, all we're really doing is assessing risk and ROI on tasks and implementing tasks. That's what 90% of our work is really. Well, unless you're a link builder, and then it's 100% nonsense.
And that's the same thing applies for doing black hat tactics. So you got your ROI to consider. Is the risk of being penalized worth the reward you're going to get for doing it, no matter how long it lasts? And in a lot of cases, it is worth doing. That's just the way the game is.
Sure. Payday loan in a minute. Like you could retire off a month's first place placement on Google for payday loans. You could retire off the 1 month's earnings. Well, I'm 60 whatever, so I'm close to retirement anyhow. It's a little bit different for me, I guess.
So maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah, put it in context.
Well, I love Bill's stuff, but sometimes it makes my head hurt.
Oh, I can. I take what I can, and he's getting pretty good at putting. One thing about him is he takes very complex ideas or things and makes them fairly understandable, which is not a lot of people can do that. Which is why he's held in such high esteem in the industry,
Yeah.
This is just JavaScript, Dave.
Yeah, what was this one?
Oh, it's kind of filler. If we can move on.
Oh, okay. It's just filler. Wow, fuck. Mark that with filler next time. Okay.
Probably.
All right, we'll throw that out. Yeah, we only got half an hour, so.
I was looking. We got an hour, so make sure we had some backups.
All right. Well, in our ever so happy that I don't know. I have not heard a lot of screaming yet. It's funny, Steve. I don't know. Once upon a time, people used to bitch about every vertical that Google went into, travel, and I think it was insurance, wasn't it, after that? Very quiet this time.
That's because the car insurance guys don't rely on natural search.
Yeah, I guess.
That's all paid search industry.
So yeah, one day it'll just be Google owns everything. You'll just go there and.
Well, I don't think people say anything either because there's fuck all you can do about it. It's like pissing into the wind. Nothing good comes from
it. I know that I didn't post this, but there's going back to what you mentioned just recently was the AdSense stuff. There's yet another AdSense lawsuit coming down the pipe. This one isn't so because Google blatantly shuts off your Google AdSense and takes all the money. It's that they shut down your account and take all the money when not all of that money was gotten through illegal means by the rules. So they're saying that there are some valid clicks in there, and you still have to pay for those.
Yeah, I saw a few lawsuits in the news recently about that kind of shit.
Yeah, and it's there's talk of bringing a new class action lawsuit, and a lot of it comes back to the refusal to give any information whatsoever. You get the same thing from Facebook. It's like, not only can you not run this ad, but we're not going to tell you why, and this is the end of book case closed. Don't even bother emailing us ever again. It's like, shit, it sounds like arguing with my wife. You're just wrong and go away. So
move to Russia. Putin just telling you, fuck off, we're moving in.
At some point, some regulatory committee is going to get a hold of them and say that they can't do that anymore. They have got to start providing some form of explanation. I know their defense has always been, yeah, but if we explain what you did wrong, then you'll cheat and do something slightly different. It's like, well, how about maybe I'll just not do that anymore because now I know what's wrong and I understand.
Yeah. But you know what that would mean? They would have to actually have someone who answered those letters. I think a lot of it is done algorithmically and there's no one assessing it. It's just random.
I have a client who's on the fringe, and I sent 6 different email requests to the Facebook ads group asking them, 1, if that product was even allowed to be advertised, 2, the best way for us to advertise for it if we could, and a couple other questions. 8 different times I sent emails over the course of 2 months with exchanges back and forth, and it always came down to, well, we don't see an ad in your account, so we can't comment. So finally, they put together an ad, put it in their account. The ad was shut down, their ad account was shut down, and their page was shut down, all in one move. And it's like, what?
So they basically shut them out of the channel altogether.
100%. So, 30 seconds later, we had new accounts and new pages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But obviously, we're not going to be running paid ads through Facebook anymore, at least not the way they had originally set them up, because here we were trying to be good players and ask what we can and cannot do, with no results. It was put it up and we'll let you know. Well, we put it up and they let us know.
Get someone there likes to play God though too. There's there's employees like that.
At some point, somebody's going to force them to start behaving like better corporate citizens. They're going to have to.
Yeah. Wow.
You think so, dude? I don't know. We've been hoping for that for a while. I don't know.
Look at Google.
I don't think it's going to be the United States.
Yeah, it could be more EU pressure, I think. Yeah. They're not spending as much on lobbying over there, so come on.
Of course, if Google wants to bring Google Fiber out here to Scottsdale, Tennessee, I will be more than happy to be the biggest fanboy you ever had. I would love me some Google Fiber out in the middle of nowhere.
Terry, what the fuck is this?
That's Russia.
Like I was
asking if his site should be hit by.
Yeah. And it's a poll, no less. Like, I love Barry, actually. Barry's a really nice guy. He works really hard. I had no problems with Barry, but I saw this, and I'm like, really, dude? Come on. Like, you're going to the masses, basically, to try and get some push behind your desire to get out, or what is this? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, right? His site is mainly the type of blog that, other than it's pretty tight on its topics, the size of the blog posts and shit would be the type of site that I would, if I didn't know it, probably say, no, I don't want to be here.
Okay, does anyone remember, though, that blogging originally was about quick hits? It wasn't about... Articles were something different. You wrote articles and you had blog posts. The history of blogging, once upon a time, it was about short little quick hits, just what's on my mind. That's actually where it came from.
Like that, they decided they didn't.
If Google's going to start telling people, because the other part of this, he talks about comments. Because apparently John Mueller said he should maybe watch the comments more. Like, holy fuck, man. Have you ever seen YouTube? Well, not. Why is YouTube showing up in my fucking stream? You ever see the comments on those fucking things? Oh, my God. Worst comments in existence exist on fucking YouTube.
Yeah, man. But it isn't even linked, so I can't really understand the deal. To me, it was more about most of the content is not value add. It's not anything that isn't anywhere else.
You can say that about pretty much any news website, which is what this is.
I think it's portrayed as something other than a news site. I'll bet you $10 it's not in Google News.
Wow, I'm hearing all kinds of neat noises now that I'm down here in this basement.
Yeah.
Stuff I've never heard in this house before.
Crickets?
Holy crap.
Oh, you hear much from the rafters?
No, it's just the first time I've been downstairs when somebody upstairs flushed the toilet.
Oh.
Something like a waterfall.
Whoosh! Okay.
That's right, folks. Only the best from us.
That'll be
the subtitle on this one on the website, The Regulators, January 14th, 2015. Steve's echoing thought. Yeah. Yeah, 2015. All right, so what else do we have? Oh, look, another fucking poll. Oh, yeah. See, folks, we do fuck around in the second one. For those of you that care, here's another beauty. Who knows? Maybe Search Engine Roundtable does have some thin content.
Jesus, H cuts.
Yeah, really.
There's a poll about if Matt will return or not. Wow. I did get a kick out of that. I was like, are you kidding? So what was the poll? 60%. Okay, there you go. So that's right. 60% of it has it. Oh, my God.
See, look at that. He wonders what the problem is. He got a fucking link to Black Hat World. Is it no follow?
No idea.
Wouldn't you wonder about,
Yeah, I can't inspect it currently when I'm in screen sharing. I would imagine. Oh, there we go.
Well, okay. Here's my opinion on this. Black Hat World is a valid website with valid information, valid content. Linking to it as part of a news story is natural. To count that,
story, it's just saying the discussion is continued there.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like if he's got that one, how many other bad ones do we have? We don't know.
Like I said, as part of a news site linking to news stories, I don't see a problem with them. Those are natural links and links that should be on the page.
Yep.
The fact that you have to wrap them in a no follow to kiss Google's ass is bullshit because now you're doing stuff
for
the search engine.
I didn't say.
Like again, Steve, I am so fucking 100% with what you're saying because the average fucking web website owner, you know what I mean? Tanya builds websites for little business people. They don't know fuck about SEO. They don't know fuck about Google. When they could be bitching about someone, these assholes over here link, blah 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 blah. So they're linking out to a bad neighborhood. They're supposed to know this. Fuck off. Like, come on. Again, it just goes.
I would hope that the folks at Google, the algorithm, is smart enough to adjust for that. If it's not, then the whole thing falls apart.
Game breaker.
But there's many reasons why he could be having the problems he is. Who even knows if it's Panda for sure? Like, again, just a fucking name.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Someone doesn't understand.
I'm guessing he's got little birds to talk to over there like we did, Terry. So I'm pretty sure if he knows it's Panda, it probably is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right there, probably.
You know what I mean? He's got enough viewers over there. Anyway, so, but even John Mueller's telling me it could be the comments. Like, that kills me. Like, are you fucking serious? Comments?
Well, that only shows that John isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all either. That you might want to take everything he says with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
This bit about everything that comes out of Google's mouth is in stone and absolutely truthful is idiots. That's idiots if you believe it. You take everything from them with a grain of salt. You take it under advisement. That's it.
Well, in a way, as well, you should have always. You know what I mean? It's always been that way. Then when Matt Cutts makes a 2-sentence fucking tweet and fucking the world shits itself and starts making theories pro and con and fucking all that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That you take under advisement, and if it makes sense for you, you do it. If it doesn't, you don't.
And test and test and test.
Just like HTTPS on a non-transactional site is stupid. It's fucking idiotic. I don't care what anyone says.
I have a different scenario. Basically, I've come with the opinion that anytime you're asking somebody to submit a form, we're going to need to start securing that.
That makes a little bit of sense because that's got email addresses.
Yeah. I mean, and even then, you still wind up being in kind of it depends more on if it's a simple contact us form, probably not. If you're submitting regular data like name, address, and phone number because you need some help with something, that probably should be encrypted. Just as a form.
What about just about every website on the planet these days has a way to register and log in. All of those as well.
Right. Well, and I'm not so worried about that either, because in theory you should be using good passwords and all that and different passwords. My concern is more of starting to tie personally identifiable data together.
Right, phone numbers,
addresses.
Yeah.
Well, anything that could be used to, basically act as you. What do they call that? Stealing your identity? Identity theft? Anything that can be used in that should be encrypted, I think. Not that I even do it myself. It might be something to think about. You're right there, Steve.
Yeah, and I don't either, but it's something we're starting to look at with clients and starting to at least make them aware of, that going forward we're going to have to start taking these types of security issues a lot more serious. We're even working with a couple of ISPs to start looking at some better ways of handling denial of service attacks and things like that. It's just a whole nother area that needs to be looked at going forward, because there's so many people willing to just crash websites just for giggles.
Well,
and it's so easy to do it.
Not just that, Steve. You have a fairly popular website where forms are getting filled out a lot. A guy could just sit there and sniff your mail all day and sniff that feed all day and get a lot of information.
Yeah, it's something that people are going to have to start paying more attention to, for sure. Which is a shame, but it's the way it is, because the tools and all the scripts have gotten so easy to use. Now you can even rent black hats these days for almost nothing. The guys that did the DDoS against Xbox and PlayStation 4 over Christmas. I mean, they got bought out.
That was a fucking funny as shit. Well, it wasn't
Tom
funny,
bought them because he wanted to play with his Xbox, you know. And they're providing a service, and it's a really cheap service. If you want to take down a website, boom, you hire them, and it doesn't cost you hardly anything. I wouldn't pay them with your credit card. Probably not even.
Yeah, that might be a little problematic.
Might be worth having a few bitcoins laid around, though. Not that I would recommend. Well, you know, this leads back to another article I saw just a few days ago. I think maybe it was Doc Sheldon turned me to it, where a guy was doing negative SEO tests to get his own website by doing things like limited denial of service, so that the website was running really, really slow load times, and then running clickbots against the search results, and claimed he saw results because he did those things. But he also mentioned that he'd never done anything to promote the website, which meant, again, we're back to that threshold of you have very little good offset very little bad, you're probably going to see negative results.
Yeah.
So, but I thought the article was certainly worth reading. I'll see if I can find the link to it, or maybe Doc will have it still, and he could drop it in. But it was at least worth taking a read at. Whether you believe that's what's going on or not is another issue entirely, but it may be something worth keeping an eye on, because if things like page load times are going to start becoming a defining factor in some of the rankings, you might want to protect your websites a little better.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the page load stuff, I think that's, again, a low percentage. You know, if it's horrendous, okay. All right, well, 7 minutes, boys. What else we got? I don't want to run into our news looks boring as shit. Sorry, the world's just boring up there. There's nothing interesting. Oh, you got a link there? All right, I'll put that in the show notes on the Bleed Plus page.
Been a rash of very negative articles written about Marissa Mayer over at Yahoo in the last few weeks, month or so. Same guy's writing all the articles. He happens to have a book for sale.
No.
It's amazing how those things come together.
Remote box.
Okay, we'll start off. First of all, I'm a fan. I like her. I think she's cool.
I've always liked her balls.
With everybody else. I mean, like with everybody else, they've all got their personality quirks and things that they do that would bug the shit out of me if they did them to me. But it seems like, for some reason, she's being held to a different standard than a lot of her male counterparts.
Yeah.
People are going on and on about what a lousy job she is. Well, they go on and on about, she's doing a terrible job, yet their stock price has tripled since she took over. Yeah, some of that's to do with Alibaba, but the stock price is up. She's making solid acquisitions. She's making solid progress. Some people hate what she did at Yahoo Mail. I happen to like the new version. It's a trade-off, but we're 2 years into it. I think they're making the right turn. We're seeing a drop in Chrome users in favor of Firefox users or Mozilla users because of the new default search. And Yahoo's probably, I would expect by the end, when the Bing Yahoo search contract runs out, I don't see that being renewed.
No, I don't either. No, I think that was probably demand one when she got there.
And we know that they're handling
more signed the contract since she's been back, but I think they're well on their way because the deal they did to get Yahoo ads onto Firefox took 20% share away from Google, which that's always good.
Yeah. So it's definitely. I just think it's kind of fun. It's good marketing on his part. He's getting a lot of articles written, a lot of them on Business Insider for some reason. Maybe they should be labeled as paid content.
Maybe it is cocaine time.
Almost every single one of those articles goes, while researching my new book, linked to here, I came across this information. Yeah, there are always going to be people, there are always going to be stockholders that don't like the CEO. That's the nature of it. Cherry picking those stockholders because they fit the message you want to drive. That's the way people do things to make money these days. As a stockholder, I'm happy with it. I'm good.
Yeah, and like the other thing is they've always owned Baidu. When they were $16, right? They still owned it. Like if anything, surfaced the value. And isn't that what CEO's supposed to do?
You mean Alibaba?
Alibaba, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was a brilliant move for them to buy into Alibaba when they did, and it's an even more brilliant move when Alibaba did their IPO. Hello, this is how this works. You're going to have to, there are going to be some. I don't see a whole lot of brand new tech coming out of Yahoo, but it's very likely we're going to start seeing some decent purchases.
Well, they did. She is into the streaming pretty heavy, and actually, I think one of the things that she was being kind of negative, people were being negative about, was she actually bought some shows and stuff for that streaming service that they're building. But there's a lot of companies doing that. Every one of the telcos in Canada have done it. So what, are they all stupid as she is? Or it's not what the stocks are telling me.
And for those people who aren't aware, it's stream.yahoo.com is their current video watching service, which is a lot clumsy, needs a significant amount of work as far as I'm concerned, but it's a start.
Right. Rome wasn't built in a day, right, Steve? Maybe two.
No, but it didn't take very long to burn that fucker down, did it?
No. And the thing is,
it's like trust. It's like trust, man. It takes years to build it. You can lose it in a moment.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right. Well, unless anyone else has something to throw in there, we pulled through an hour. We did like 40 minutes of actually somewhat, hopefully, educational stuff. I don't know if it worked.
We're the educators now, Dave. We're the new SEO educators. They can all stop going to Moz and just come and take in our.
We just couldn't get through an hour without that three-letter word.
Edutainment.
Edutainment. Yeah, that's it, baby. Yeah, I'll go with pontificators. Anyways, there you go, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you think about the new format. Again, we're trying to please both sides of the old audience, and we'll be doing more of it each week. If you got things you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to comment away on Google Plus Threads or anywhere else you know where to find us, and we'll be happy to discuss anything you want to learn about.
Yes, anything you want to get educated on, we're the guys.
We got it going on.
And it's not just SEO, we mean anything.
Oh, yeah.
The gods of the internet.
Wow.
Woohoo.
I can see sexual position questions now. What's your favorite?
Our expert in that.
See, there you go. We should do a show 1 week of the Regulators. That's one of those AMA things. Ask me anything. You know what I mean? We'll just collect questions for a week from our viewers and listeners.
Can we block certain people from asking questions?
Yes.
Yeah,
we get this, strategically choose.
And none of us will know who they're really referring to.
All right, everybody. All right, guys. Everyone listening, thank you very much for another week coming by. Happy 2015, everyone. Are we still going 2 weeks, 1 week? We don't even know anymore, do we?
I'd like to go every week, Dave. But if you're too busy, well...
I'm never too busy. So that's more Steve.
Okay, well, we'll work it out.
We'll figure it out, folks. Let you know.
Yeah.
Again, in the comments, if you want to see more of this crap, just let us know, and we'll be happy to publish more of it.
Yeah.
If nobody asks for more, then we'll just stop.
We're happy to give you all the crap you want.
Oh, yeah, we're good. Shit, maybe we can do this. All right, guys. Till next week. Have a good one.
Yeah, go make lots of money.